Secondly, we just move on to policies and procedures. So obviously we want to provide a safe and enjoyable experience for all our volunteers and our clients to comply with our legal obligations, particularly to duty of care with volunteers and clients, and to ensure consistency of service. So if we're out and about on our night patrol, Vinnie's van volunteers are not mandatory reporters unless your profession requires you to. So if you're a teacher or you might be a mandatory reporter there. However, if it's an emergency, call 000 and also report this to Vinnie's staff coordinator and or 1-800 for support. Generally, that would go to the staff coordinator would be Viniana at Vinnie's, and her number's in the folder. But please, if you're out on night patrol and I'm not out on one of those nights, I'll always have my number available to you, so you can contact me and I can get straight in touch with Viniana. That way, I know what's going on as well, and I can help with you with that as well. This is internal Vinnie's, so 1-800 for support is an internal Vinnie's support service offering advice and assistance to staff members and volunteers. It's not our job to investigate, so if we think something's going on and you're a mandatory reporter, you can report it, but don't go investigate, pull people aside, question them like that. But you could... the better way would be to contact myself or Vinyana and say, look, I'm just concerned about this situation. The worst situation I've had to deal with in the same sort of situation, police weren't needed, but a young person, a young family with some children, the windows in their house were broken. So all the glass windows were broken and they were cold. So I called 1-800 for support, and we organised to have those windows fixed the very next day so they had a warm house to live in. So things like this. So it's not my job to walk up to the house and go, all right, I want to see the damage of this property. That's not my place, and it certainly isn't yours either. Okay, but we record this and we act upon what you know. And we pass on any information if we feel it goes beyond where we feel capable of dealing with. But once again, we're not going into the residents' houses. We're not going to be questioning or interrogating anyone. An emergency is when a child or young person does not have a safe housing for the night. If they're over 16, we can only report this to Child Services or fax an emergency with their permission. Okay. We want to also think about our challenging or dangerous behaviour. Challenging behaviour is a term used to describe those behaviours that threaten the quality of life and or physical safety of an individual or others. Either the behaviours people are showing to us, they're either dangerous or not dangerous. If they're polite, they're not dangerous. They might be a bit abrupt, that's not dangerous. But if there's threat of physical harm, of threat, of any form of violence, like that's dangerous, and we've got policies regarding each one. So if there's any threat of physical harm, leave immediately. Leave everything. Get in the van, lock the doors, go away. Okay? I don't care about the tables. I don't care about the clickers, the things that will measure the Milo or the sugar or the hot chocolate. I don't care about that stuff. What I care about first and foremost is your safety. If there's a threat of physical harm in the bus, leave the stuff, leave. We can collect that at a later stage with the police involved. Once safe in the van, inform the police. Also inform Viniana, but I would always say if I'm not there, inform me. I'll be calling Viniana straight away. That way, you will be heard. In the past, there were times where the late night phone number never picked up. So at least you know that I'm on hand if someone else isn't going to pick up. Notify the management coordinator. So that's Viniana. Notify me, and I'll help with Viniana. I can always assist you with all that sort of stuff. Staff writes out an incident report. There's a form in the folder that you'll take out each night, and with plenty of space to actually write anything that could happen and talk. I mean, obviously in a situation where there's threats of physical harm, you might be scared, other people in your group might be scared, so it's always helpful to talk about this. Management coordinator investigates and will organise a debriefing session as required. Okay. However, on the other hand, there might be no physical threat of harm to a volunteer, but some residents can be difficult to work with if they've had a bad day or something. So, don't be volunteer. Please stop this behaviour. Or if we can just wait your turn on working with this person, or asking another one of our volunteers, can you just go and help this person over here? They look like they're struggling. If a behaviour continues, the volunteer informs the staff immediately. The Vincentarian or staff asks patron to stop the behaviour, setting out consequences. If this keeps happening, we will leave. Now, the great news is, in these small communities, they know if someone causes trouble, we will get in the van and leave. So if you call that threat, the other residents will usually step in as well and support you. Okay? Never do they support the person causing the trouble, because they know they may lose their service and they don't want to lose their service. Okay? If it continues, the van, if the patron continues behaviour, the van leaves. Pack up the equipment early. If there's no threat of physical violence, put it in the van, get in the van, go home, go to the next stop if you feel comfortable. Give me or Viniana a call and say, hey, we've had to leave. This person was doing this. If you don't know their name, that's okay. Just leave us a bit of description of the person. So writing an incident report, and we can debrief that. And the Vinnie staff, they'll come around in the morning or the next day and say, all right, you're giving our people hassle, or they'll ask the other people who was causing trouble last night, and they might be given a 1 or 2 week suspension from coming to Vinnie's services until their behaviours change. Usually, and they might be a little bit, upset, and you might just say, you might call, stop this behaviour, and they go, sorry, I've just had a bad day. And say, would you like to talk about it? That gives you that opportunity to enter into their hurt, into their experience. And then once again, the management or the coordinator will investigate and organise some debrief if that's what's necessary. What do you do if you assess that a person is in a state of crisis or medical episode? If there's physical danger to any person, call the police. Okay, if 2 residents are going at her or something, call the police. I've never seen that before in my life, and I've been doing this since 1998. Okay, encourage the person to seek professional help. Okay, you might even get them some services to, phone numbers to call, or if a person agrees to go in an ambulance, call the ambulance for them. I once had a situation where a man needed to get home. He wanted me to put him in the van and drive him. There is a free service for homeless people that will actually taxi them around if they're in stress. That taxi service was not operational that night, so the police came and helped that person get home safely. If not, call New South Wales Mental Health Crisis Line. You can call them on behalf of the person, or if they can call themselves with their own phone. Everyone out there will have their own phone. Okay, no need to be giving your phone to other people. Okay, and first aid, always consider your own skills. If the patron requires medical assistance, it's recommended to direct them to the closest medical centre or hospital for proper care. If something happens where they're on the ground collapsed, you may not be trained in first aid being a first responder, and if you don't feel comfortable, call. There may be, there should be, if you're a school student going on this, there must be a teacher from the school with you, and all our teachers have first aid training, so they'll take control over that as well until first responders come. Okay, confidentiality is also an important feature of what we're doing. Okay, we're not going to have information divulged to us that we start to share with other people. Okay, don't go, oh, did you hear about frank down the road, this is his situation. I mean, that's, what people tell you in private should remain private unless it's a risk to them or a risk to someone else. If that's the case, share it with the Vinnie's team leader or team coordinator, and we can get that person the help that they need. So don't discuss patrons' details or experiences with anyone else unless you have been told of an intention to cause serious harm to anyone, in which case you must tell the following people. Your team leader, call Vinnie's van coordinator, your team leader will do that for you. Call the police if it's necessary. Record all of the above on the log sheet and complete the incident report. So you can see this is part of the job of the team leader when they go out there. And I've only ever had to call the police once, and as I said, it was for a man who was desperately trying to get back to his house and on the other side of the city, and was in no state to do that safely for himself. Now, in terms of discussing experiences that you hear out there, that may be appropriate in a debrief session. So in the bus with other people who've been on the patrol, just saying, I heard this situation and this is how it made me feel, because your feelings are going to be important too, but just not sharing details about other people's experiences with people who don't need to hear that. My first night patrol ever, I was serving a person who looked very classy in his suit. He approached me speaking French at first, and then we started to have a conversation, only to discover that he was living on the streets because, but dressed very nicely. He'd been removed out of his house. He couldn't afford rent or upkeep because he'd been removed from one of the mental institutions that had shut down in the 1990s, and the money was going primarily to his medication. So that obviously affected me, going, this poor guy, he just seems so with it and together, but he's having a real difficult time. So I needed to talk to someone about that, but not someone who I've met on the streets that night. So debriefings are important. So we might want to ask ourselves, what are some of the good things that had happened tonight? What things most disturbed us or might have caught us off guard, or the most surprising thing that we saw? Slattery Place always interests me because there's usually a lot of kids that are running around there. As I said, it's Housing Commission. There's lots of refugee families in there. People you don't always think will be in Housing Commission. So that might be something that touches your heart and go, wow, I didn't really expect to see what I saw tonight. And what did other people teach me? You might have heard something that might have affected you. You might have had a new outlook at life, and that's good. There's also EAP for extra support, and we can get counselling services, all that sort of stuff to assist you with with dealing with your emotions after an experience, if that's what happens. One thing I haven't mentioned yet, I should say, is with clothing. Generally, when we go out there, I'd encourage people to wear, don't wear footy shorts, you can wear t-shirts, don't wear footy shorts. Nice dress shorts are fine, jeans are fine, shoes. Avoid jewellery or overloading jewellery. Just remember these people come from areas of quite high poverty, so to have too much jewellery sometimes comes off a little bit like precociousness. So just being aware of that, how we present ourselves. Too much makeup. If you're someone who wears makeup, try to limit that a little bit. Clothes with too many designs and stuff. Wear t-shirts, wear collared shirts, wear hoodies, wear jeans. Don't wear thongs. Wear enclosed footwear is always the best, I recommend as well. Don't be afraid. If you want to put on your football jersey, wear your football jersey. That could be a point of conversation starter. Being aware, and I always like to think about this as well. Those who, if you've got a Souths jersey, I mean, we're going into East Lakes and they're all South supporters in there, and they love their footy and they love their sport. So these are areas that you can really connect well on. At the moment, if you were to go out there, in the next couple of weeks, you might go, I want to talk about the Olympics. Did you watch the Olympics? Did you do this? So thinking about the kind of conversations we're having, the way we present ourselves and the clothes that we wear. You're welcome to wear dresses and skirts and things like that. I would say, knee length or below. Otherwise, go comfortable, comfortable but neat, and that's important too. That how we present ourselves will be how people perceive us as well. So I thank you very much for taking this journey with me. And if we're going to use this video just to help you answer a few questions, that information will be sent to me, and I'll be able to get you onto the roster as soon as possible. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Email me, email the website there on the slide, and we'll help you in whichever way we can.